Hey there, it's Seb Frey here with another exciting episode of It's a Seb Show. You know, a couple episodes back, I talked about the diminishing value of square footage, and that is that, houses which are larger have a lower price per square foot than smaller houses, generally speaking. Well, there's a corollary to that, and that is that bigger lot sizes have a lower value per square foot than smaller parcels do. Now, why is that? This came to my mind because the other day I was corresponding with a client and we were talking about some comparable properties. And he said that, well, hey, that comp that you're pointing out has a 25% smaller lot than my house does. Now, if in fact about half the value of your property is the land that the house sits on, you would think then that a 25% smaller lot might have 25% less value in terms of the lot itself. Well, it turns out that is actually not the case. So appraisers have this thing which they call excess land, right? So they're saying that any land which does not go to support the use of the property is excess and does not really add much, if any, value to the property. So you can have a very small lot. You can have a 2,000 square foot lot, which is a very small lot for a single family home anyway. And that lot could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars simply for the fact that the government allows you to put a house on there, right? Like the best use of the property can be achieved by putting a house right there on that 2,000 square foot lot. And if you had a 3,000 square foot lot right next door, actually the use couldn't be very much more intense than for the 2,000 square foot lot. Like you couldn't split it, put another house. You couldn't maybe add a granny unit onto that other size lot either. So even though a 3,000 square foot lot is 50% bigger than a 2,000 square foot lot, the actual difference in value between those two is not going to be very great because what you can do with it isn't a whole lot different. I want to share a little anecdote with you about this concept of excess land. Earlier this year, I helped some clients buy their dream property. It was a little teeny tiny house, about 1,000 square feet, on 6 acres of land. Interestingly enough, it was actually two separate parcels. One was a completely vacant 3.5 acre parcel, and one was a 2.5 acre parcel where the house was. And so we went to get an appraisal, and we wanted to get a loan that would cover both properties. Now, we were in contract at about $825,000, if I recall. And the appraisal came in at about $650,000. Now, that's a big problem when you're trying to get a loan and you're 175 grand short on your appraisal. Big problem there. And so we were saying, hey, how is this possible that, you're only valuing this house at 650 grand? It's got 6 acres, right? Well, the thing is that when you look at all the comps that they were looking at, and I ran the comps myself and checked it out, and I was not surprised that this came up, but most of the comps are on half-acre parcels, maybe an acre parcels. Not even anything was on 2.5 acres for that little 1,000 square foot house, right? So the appraiser had the problem of excess land, right? Like whether or not that vacant 3.5 acre parcel was included in the total parcel size or not, the same value was going to be $650,000. It wasn't going to change whether or not you included that extra 3.5 acre parcel of prime real estate. The appraiser was going to attribute no value to it because it was excess land. Really, that the property could have been a half acre in size, not 2.5 acres, could have been a half acre in size, and it would have appraised for the exact same $650,000 because the appraiser ascribes no value to that excess land because the comps don't show that there is any value in that land for a parcel size that greater than about half an acre. That's because you can't do anything more with that 2.5 acre parcel than you can do with a half-acre parcel. Now, that is not exactly true, but in terms of a single family residence, which is how Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are going to look at that, there really is no higher and better use that you can get with a 2.5 acre parcel versus a 1 acre parcel in single family zoning. So very interesting, right? The appraiser gave no value to that whatsoever. So how did we close that escrow, by the way? I'm glad you asked. We actually broke it up again into two separate transactions. They bought the vacant 3.5 acre parcel as a separate transaction for cash, and then they got financing with a much smaller down payment for a $650,000 purchase price with just the house. But it goes to show you that big lot size does not have the value that you probably think it has. Now, it might be really valuable to you, but the market in general is going to not value a huge parcel as much as you think that it might. And so that is why there is a decreasing value of the square footage of your lot as your lot size gets bigger. Very interesting bit of information there because this is something that comes up quite a bit, like, oh, my lot size is so big, my house should be worth a lot more than these other houses. And the answer is that it may be worth something more, probably is worth something more, but not quite as much as maybe you're anticipating. All right, that is it for this episode of It's a Seb Show. I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and I hope that you found this information useful. If you did, would you give me a thumbs up? Would you give me a like? Would you give me a comment? Or even, God forbid, a share? That would be awesome. Hey, thanks again so much for watching, and I will have another episode up again before too long.